You settle into the plush velvet seat of the Riviera Express just as midnight flickers on the station clock. The train sighs, lights dim, and the rhythmic clack of wheels begins. You have scarcely removed your gloves when the conductor whispers that something is amiss in the rear compartment. A young heiress, Eloise Moreau, has been discovered lifeless. No gunshot, no scream, only the chilling stillness of a woman who should have been planning her morning stroll along the Côte d'Azur. Your famous little grey cells spark awake. A murder announced before dawn, and you, Hercule Poirot, its only reliable witness, the perfect hook for your methodical genius. You rise, straighten your cuffs, and glide through the swaying corridor. Already you feel the eyes of passengers who know your name, eyes that ask you to solve what terrifies them. The first step, always, observe. You note the faint scent of jasmine on Eloise's silk scarf, the misplaced travel clock on her bedside shelf, the curious indentation on the velvet carpet where a suitcase once rested. There is no visible wound, only a delicate bruise along the collarbone. Poison, perhaps, or a well-placed blow. You ponder motivations. An heiress carries more baggage than any ticketed trunk. You address the conductor, speaking low so as not to startle the sleepers. He swears he heard glass clink shortly after midnight, yet saw no one leave Eloise's room. He adds that the corridor lights flickered for a breath, just long enough for shadows to rearrange themselves. Your mind files it away. Shadows are often more honest than people. 3 cabins forward, you encounter Monsieur Lucien Vallon, a banker whose pocket watch never leaves his hand. He claims to have been timing the train's every stop for a forthcoming report. His alibi feels manufactured, too perfect, yet his sweat-beaded brow betrays genuine unease. Is he frightened by murder or by discovery? Your inquiry continues. Next is Celeste Durant, Eloise's cousin, who clutches a letter half-folded, as though unsure whether to reveal or conceal. She sobs, insists Eloise had no enemies, but her tear-streaked face lifts just enough for you to notice smudged rouge that wasn't there in earlier photographs. You wonder, tears or theatrics? You return to the scene, this time focusing on luggage. A monogrammed trunk labelled EM appears heavier than its twin. You open it gently and find men's trousers tucked beneath designer gowns. Curious, smuggling, a lover's secret wardrobe. Then another detail. A small ampule, empty, wedged into a shoe heel. Clear glass, no label, faint scent of bitter almonds. Cyanide, unmistakable. Yet one question nags you. Why leave the vial where any investigator would uncover it? At 2:30, the train barrels through a tunnel and lights gutter again. Darkness compresses the corridor, and in that hush, you hear muffled laughter, masculine, coming from the dining car you thought was closed. When lamps flare back to life, you move quickly. 2 stewards stand over an open champagne bottle, startled by your sudden presence. They swear they meant no harm, only a nightcap. But you note the bottle's wire cage has been twisted with unusual force, as though someone repurposed it earlier. The ticking timetable in your mind adjusts. Midnight, vial, lights. 2:30, laughter, champagne. Every fragment must interlock. Your interrogation resumes at dawn, when the Riviera Express rolls past lavender fields kissed by pale light. You gather the principal players in the salon carriage. You speak warmly, almost conversationally, because fear loosens tongues far better than accusation. You ask each passenger a simple question. At the stroke of midnight, what held your attention most? Answers vary. An engine cough, a dream interrupted, a misplaced novel. You listen for cadence, for hesitation, for the heartbeat hidden beneath syllables. A surprising note arises when Madame Véronique Lamont, a novelist known for morbid plots, admits she saw Eloise arguing with Celeste earlier about a stolen necklace. Yet the necklace now dangles freely against Celeste's collar, glimmering in morning light. Celeste insists she borrowed it with permission. An innocent loan, or motive masked as family privilege. Your little grey cells dance among possibilities. Still, something refuses to fit. Then you recall the conductor's mention of flickering lamps and the steward's tight champagne cage. Electricity, wire, timing. A plan emerges. You request all luggage be brought into the salon. Uniformed porters comply, forming a wall of trunks and suitcases. A few passengers protest, but your reputation cows them. You open Lucien's briefcase first. Inside ledgers and an unsigned will, naming him executor of Eloise's estate should she die before her 25th birthday, tomorrow. A tempting fortune, certainly, yet too visible a paper trail for a banker who values discretion. Celeste's vanity case appears next. Beneath powders and pearls lies a train timetable with scrawled annotations around the midnight mark. You raise an eyebrow. She claims it was Eloise's, a shared planning tool. Again, the obviousness troubles you. Then comes Madame Lamont's typewriter case, heavier than her slender stories suggest. You open it to find not only the machine, but rolls of copper wire and a recently snipped lamp fuse. She flushes scarlet. Inspiration for a novel, she mutters. You wonder aloud whether her fiction required a lethal test run. Finally, a porter brings a suitcase with no tag at all, discovered in an unattended lavatory. When you click it open, you uncover male evening wear, matching the misplaced trousers found in Eloise's trunk, and a small toolkit. Someone intended to swap luggage quickly, but the hasty tunneled darkness betrayed them. You ask the steward to recount his timetable again. He reveals that Madame Lamont bribed him for privacy in the dining car after midnight. Lucien pales. Celeste fidgets with her necklace. The air thickens with guilt, but whose? Now comes the moment listeners crave, the logical recap. You begin calmly, addressing the gathered suspects as though guiding friends through a puzzle. You remind them that the vial of cyanide was placed deliberately to mislead. Real poison left no internal trace on Eloise. A medical examination you requested from the onboard physician confirms this. Instead, her death came from electric shock administered through the metal frame of her bunk when the lights flickered. To create that surge, someone rewired the cabin fuse and used the champagne wire as a makeshift conductor. The copper rolls in Madame Lamont's case fit that requirement perfectly. But why implicate herself with her own wire? Because it was not Madame Lamont who performed the surge. She supplied the materials unwittingly to a fellow passenger, asking writing advice on authentic technical details. You pivot to Celeste, whose annotated timetable shows she calculated the exact second the train would pass through the tunnel, ensuring the darkness shielded her switch. The stolen necklace, a diversion, forced an argument witnessed by many, granting her a dramatic alibi. Yet Celeste could not risk handling copper bare-handed. Fingerprints would betray her, so she enlisted Lucien, promising to name him executor in a forged will. Greed bound him to her scheme. He fitted the wire, timed the surge, and disposed of tools in the anonymous suitcase. But in panic, he hid the case too early, leaving it discoverable. Still, what of the vial? That final misdirection belonged to Celeste alone. She planted it to point suspicion toward poison, the simplest explanation. When you reveal that forensic swabs found traces of rouge, her distinctive hue, on the ampule, she drops the necklace she claims to love. It clatters like a gavel announcing guilt. Lucien stammers, hopelessly entangled. Celeste, realizing the game is lost, straightens with icy composure. She confesses Eloise never intended to share the family fortune. Midnight on the Riviera Express seemed the perfect stage for irreversible negotiation. The conductor, now steeled by your deduction, places them under guard until Nice. Morning sunlight washes over rolling vineyards as you conclude. You address the remaining passengers, assuring them the danger has passed. Yet you turn to the listener as well, asking a gentle question. Did you feel the tug of each red herring? Did your own little grey cells dance alongside mine? You remind them that truth often sits in plain view, waiting for a careful eye and a patient heart. As the train slows into the coastal station, you gather your hat. Another crime solved, another lesson etched into memory. You leave listeners with a simple takeaway. When motives hide behind glamour and speed, pause, breathe, and observe. Details whisper, timetables tick, and justice, like the Riviera dawn, always arrives on schedule.